in FY 2024 necessitated shifting docket overhaul expenditures from FY 2024 into FY 2025. The agency request for 204.3 FTE positions represent a reduction of 0.3 FTEs below the approved number in FY 2025. The Senate Committee on Utilities concurs with the House Committee of the Whole for recommendations in FY 2025. I stand for questions.
Yes, before we do questions, Senator Erickson and Senator Clays are both on WebEx, so if they have questions, just, I guess, either raise your hand if they can see that on WebEx. Yes, he said that'll work. Questions for Senator Fagg? Seeing none, Senator, if you want to move 26.
And then I'll make a motion afterward for both of them. Okay.
That'd be great.
So we're moving to FY 2026. The agency request is $132.2 million, all from special revenue funds, and 204.5 FTE positions for FY 2026. The request is an increase of $26.7 million or 25.3% above the approved amount in FY 2025. The increase is mostly attributable to increased estimates relating to receipts from federal funds. The agency estimates higher receipts for several grant programs established under the Federal Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law for FY 2026. The agency also estimates increase in fee fund expenditures. Specifically, the agency's requests include an increase in fee fund expenditures relating to the anticipated docket for FY 2026. The agency request for 204.5 FTE positions for FY 2026 is equal to the approved number for FY 2025. The Senate Committee on Utilities concur with the House Committee of the Whole recommendations for FY 2026. I stand for questions.
Questions on 2026. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just curious, I don't know if the chairman has an answer or not. I find it interesting that in 23 and 24, they had 204.5 FTEs, and then in 25, they cut it down by 0.2 of an FTE, and then they bump it back up. So can you answer how they cut down the 0.2 of an FTE or why that is? And if it's not a big deal, just saw that and I thought, well, that's strange.
Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will check into that and give you an answer back.
Other questions? Seeing none, Senator, if you'd like to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Kansas Corporation Commission budget for FY 2025 and FY 2026 pass out favorably.
We have a motion. We have a second. Senator Peterson seconds. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll have the Citizens Utility Ratepayer Board, Senator Fagg, and that's volume 1, page 218, if you want to know what page in your book. Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. FY 2025, the agency requests $1.4 million, all from the Utility Regulatory Fee Fund, and 9 FTE positions in FY 2025. The request is $88,000 or 6.5% above the approved amount. The agency is authorized each year by language in the appropriation bill to carry over unspent funds for consultant services to ensure sufficient funds during the year, with a higher number of rate cases. In FY 2025, the agency is carrying over $88,000 in unspent consultant service expenditures for FY 2024. The agency request for 9.0 FTE position matches the approved number for FY 2025. The Senate Committee on Utilities concurs with the House Committee of the Whole recommendation for FY 2025. I stand for questions.
Questions on 25? Seeing none, Senator, if you'd like to go to 26.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The agency request for 2026 is 1.4 million, all from Utility Regulatory Fee Fund and the 9.0 FTE positions for FY 2026. The request is 23,934, or 1.8% above the approved amount for FY 2025. The increase is primarily attributable to estimated increases for group health insurance and fees paid to the Office of Information Technology Services for FY 2026. Increases are also attributed to computer hardware and support equipment, as well as estimated increase for CAPERS employer contributions for FY 2026. The agency request of 9 FTE position matches the approved number for FY 2025. The Senate Committee on Utilities concur with the House Committee of the Whole recommendations for FY 2026.
Questions on 2026? Seeing none, Senator, if you want to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Citizens Utility Ratepayer Budget for FY 2025 and FY 2026 pass out favorably.
I have a motion, we have a second. Senator Peterson seconds. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, the motion carries. Thank you, Senator Fagg. Next, we will have just Senator Erickson is on WebEx, but she is ill, and I told her I just wanted her to read her report, and then we won't take any action on it until probably Thursday. So it won't be any motions or anything. I just want her to report out on her committee, and then she can get some rest. Senator Erickson, are you on?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Did you have a preference on which budget I started with?
No, whichever one you like start with is fine.
Okay, thank you. We will start with the Kansas State School for the Deaf for fiscal year 2025. You will see on page 2 and 3 of the budget report that the Senate Education Committee concurs with the House Committee of the Whole for their recommendation for 2025. And the same, Mr. Chair, holds true for 2026, but I will draw the committee's attention on page 3 there. There were some capital improvement requests that the House Committee on K-12 Education Budget made there at the bottom of page 3. And the Senate Education Committee does concur with the House Committee of the Whole's recommendations for 2026 as well. I will then go to the Kansas State School for the Blind. And again, if you look on page 2 and 3 of the budget report, you will see that the agency requested 14.2 million, including 8.4 million SGF, and that is 5.1% below the agency's approved amount. And the Senate Committee on Education concurred with the House Committee of the Whole's recommendation with the following adjustment. The agency had requested 41,738 SGF for the extended school year program, and that was to recover funds that had lapsed in 2024 for the same amount and purpose. And then turning to fiscal year 2026, the Senate Committee on Education concurred with the House Committee of the Whole's recommendation with the following recommendation, again, adding reappropriation language for the extended school year account for fiscal year 2026. Turning to the Kansas State Department of Education, if you will look at the bottom of page 2 of the budget report, you will see the recommendations from the House Committee on K-12 Education. The Committee of the Whole in the House concurred with those recommendations, and the Senate Committee on Education concurred with the House Committee of the Whole's recommendation with the following adjustments. And those 7 adjustments are listed on page 3 of the report. And those came about from a recommendation that was accepted by the committee to fully fund education per Gannon. And those were the items that were a result of that recommendation. For fiscal year 2026, if you look on page 6, you will see the same information. The Senate Committee on Education concurred with the House Committee of the Whole's recommendation for 2026 with those same adjustments, plus moving language on item 9 for the Youth Career Program, and that's reflected in the House's recommendation on item 4 above. So those were the only adjustments. Mr. Chair, I will make note that I received about half an hour ago a minority report that I believe the committee does have as well. And I appreciate you letting me share out today.
Yes, well, thank you for reporting, and we'll discuss this on Thursday. Senator Petty.
So, Mr. Chairman, can I share at today or on Thursday the minority report?
I think we'll wait till Thursday, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you, Senator Erickson. Next, we will have Senator Alley, Committee on Commerce, report on the Kansas Department of Commerce. Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On page 2 of the report, the Special Committee on Legislative Budget concurred with the agency's revised estimate with the exception of the 3 items deleted. The Joint Committee concurred with the LBC's recommendation. The House then added the first 3 items there. You'll see some language. You'll see 5.8 for Bombardier Defense Project.
Senator Alley, excuse me, I forgot. This one here too, we're just going to have you report out. We're not going to do any action on this until Thursday also. Okay, thank you. So go ahead and continue. Sorry to interrupt you. I forgot to mention that before you started.
Starting on fiscal year 2025, the Committee of the Whole concurred with the committee's recommendation. This is the House Committee of the Whole concurred with the committee's recommendation, and the Senate Committee on Commerce concurred with the House's Committee of the Whole recommendation for 2025. I'll move on to 2026. This is on page 4. On 2026, this is split up with the House and the Committee on Commerce, and also the Committee on State Building Construction and the Ag and Natural Resources Committee all touched the Commerce one because of some EDIF money in there. So basically on 2026, the House Committee on Ag and Natural Resources added back in the EDIF funding. That was removed. I think we removed that. They added it back in. The House of Whole on appropriations deleted $1 million from that, and they also deleted the EDIF money back out of there. So then the Senate Committee on Ways and Means in 2026 concurred with the House deleting the EDIF money to remove appropriations and transfers, deleted ARPA interest from our budget. Then the Senate Committee on the Commerce added back in $15 million for SGF for a maintenance, repair, and overhaul of airplanes at Topeka Regional Airport. They added back in the EDIF funding that was taken out, or most of the EDIF funding that was taken out. And the other deletion was deleted $300,000 for EDIF from the junior achievement. So with that, I'll stand for questions at appropriate time.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Alley. Like I said, we'll discuss this on Thursday. Next, we'll do some work on a couple of agencies that we heard earlier. We'll start out with the Department Administration. Do we have the page and which book?
Stephen Wu, Legislative Research. The Department of Administration is in Volume 1, page 124. And then in the green sheets, I think it's page 4, around the bottom.
Green sheet, page 4. Did anyone have any amendments for 2025 on Department Administration or 2026? It's page 124 in volume 1 and page 4 on the green sheet. We'll have Stephen go over the green sheet real quickly with you, get everybody kind of up to speed and what was done in the House. Thank you, Stephen.
Sure. Good morning, committee. Stephen Wu, Legislative Research. I'm just going to go through the items listed on the green sheet. These are the shorthand adjustments for the House actions. You'll see in fiscal year 25, there are a number of items that start reappropriation lapse. This is restoration of SGF dollars that reappropriated that the Special Committee on Legislative Budget deleted. The House Committee then added those back in. These include $7 million for the licensing portal. This is the SB 66 licensing verification portal. About $520,000 for the division of the budget, about exactly $500,000 for grants for security for Jewish centers of faith, Skipping one item to number 5, this is restoration of reappropriations for the Office of Public Advocates. Jumping back to 4, this is the mail scanning equipment, the printing plant enhancement, $400,000. Item number 6 is the docking state office building. This committee did make one adjustment to this, and that is to delete the language, renaming it to the Robert J. Dole State Office Building. Moving on to fiscal year 26. Number 1 is the Series 2025A debt service. This is just a consolidation of existing debt service obligations in the Department of Corrections, KBI, and Kansas State budgets. This just combines them into the Department of Administration's budget in fiscal year 26. Item number 2 is that enhancement for ERP modernization. This is $26 million. The House adjusted it so that that funding is to come from the ARPA State Relief Fund rather than from the SGF. This would be for the first year only. And lastly, number 3 is for restoration of some additional funding for the Office of Procurement and Contracts, some staffing as well as offices for fiscal year 26.
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate it. Committee, did anyone have any recommendations or changes? Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Stephen, if you could give me a little, I want to talk a little bit about the 10.3. It says debt service. So we got 3 loans out there. Are we going to combine them? Is that what they're going to do? And
Yes.
refinance is what we're doing?
So there are 2 existing bond issuances that have, let me see. The legislature approved 3 projects last year. Those are the 3 listed there. KDFA would consolidate these into one existing obligation. That would be Series 2025A. Should this body give the agency approval to proceed, KDFA would proceed with negotiating those bonds.
Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the 2 that was out there, what kind of rates did they have on that?
If I can get, excuse me, I can get that information on, it's on my computer for sure. I'll see if I can get it on my phone. Two existing bonds.
Stephen, go ahead.
Senator Fagg, I have to follow up with you. So those have already been informed by the Secretary of Administration that those bonds have already been defeased, and would have to follow up with you on the interest rate specifically.
Senator Fagg.
So I'd find that interesting, what kind of rates, and if we're doing 3 and it costs to refinance, what our new picture is going to be there, just making sure we're doing the right thing. That's just a question I had on that. I'm looking at rate instead of convenience.
I'll get you that information as soon as I can.
Adam, do you know if the rates were lower?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Adam Prophet, Secretary of Administration. To make sure I clarify the question, are you talking about the bonds that we defeased earlier this year in fiscal 25 that was approved by the 2024 legislature?
We're talking about item 1 on the 2026 on page 5. It's add 10.3 million SGF for debt service for Series 2025A bonds and for fiscal year 26.
Okay, Mr. Chair, if I may, thank you for the clarification. I was thinking it was on a different topic. So we are working through the bond issuance process right now for the Series 2025A and 2025B bonds. We've had calls with one rating agency last week. We have another call this afternoon with another rating agency. The pricing won't be completed until probably late March, early April, but they'll be at today's market rates, and obviously we'll negotiate the best possible rates that we can and the best possible total cost when we look at all provisions of the bond. But I can't tell you what the rates are just yet.
So are these new bonds, or are we refinancing bonds?
Mr. Chair, these would be new issuance. These are bonds that were approved by the 2024 legislature to be issued. They were approved in 3 different agency budgets. What we are doing is lapsing the bond authority and the debt service from those 3 agency budgets and consolidating it all into Department of Administration. So it's not new debt that we're asking for. It was approved for last year. We're just consolidating in Department of Administration because we are the debt servicer for the state of Kansas.
Senator Fagg.
answered my question. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Senator Petty.
So just to follow up, so that was dealing with that 10.3 million. And Stephen, where is that then in the current budget for the Department of Administration?
Could I get some clarification? What do you mean, where is that?
Well, is it not in? It is in.
So it is currently in sub for HB 2007.
Thank you. And could you, and I have to apologize, I was looking for my notes. Could you, concerning the reauthorizing of the mail scanning security equipment, is that 400,000, is that currently in there?
Yes, yes, it is.
Thank you.
Other questions? Senator Peck.
Mr. Chairman, this is not really a question as such, so do you want me to hold off on a comment or go ahead and make a comment? I don't have a question for.
You're welcome to comment. We're discussing it right now. Yes.
That's what I thought. During the presentation, we heard from the Department of Administration that they are leasing space to the press in the Capitol for the major sum of $8.33 a month. They told us it was $100 a year. And I have no understanding why we're doing that. I don't understand, number one, why we have office space for the press, but why we are not charging them something. And I realize that the press will probably write my name a few times now, but I don't care. I just don't think that taxpayers, when I mention this in a forum back home, people come unglued. You are only charging $100 a year for the press to write stories about you that frequently are inaccurate. Those are my words. No one else on the committee has to comment on what I just said. Might not want to, by the way. In any event, I think that it would be good for us. I did not get together any type of a balloon or language, but $8.33 a month for office rent in the Capitol. If we're going to charge that, we're going to fill the building with all kinds of business, and this is not state-run, technically, press. They're not state employees, technically. So I was thinking it would be a good idea for us to put language in, and we may even want to put a dollar amount in, to instruct the Department of Administration to renegotiate with the press for a more reasonable rent. And if the press doesn't agree to that rent, adios. I mean, so long. It's like, I guess it just really didn't set well with me and Mr. Chairman when Kansas citizens learn, doesn't set well with them. So I don't know how you want to handle that, if you want me to get a balloon for some point in the future.
Well, we're going to try to get everything done Thursday, so you all know. We plan on working tomorrow through lunch, and lunch will be provided. So we'll try to be done by 1:30. I think there's a committee comes in here at 1:30, so we're going to work long tomorrow. And, on Thursday, we're going to kind of, really, if you want to have that drawn up by Thursday and want to offer that, you're welcome to. I think that'd probably be Thursdays our cleanup day, so that would be a good time to do that, unless we want to do a conceptual. I mean, whichever way you want to do. If you want to do a conceptual, I'd be okay with that today. If you want to, we can, and if you want to wait till Thursday and have it drawn up, that'd be fine. Either way, I'll leave it up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Because of the fact that I just thought of it as I realized here, looking at Department of Administration, and so I would prefer to try to get the language together a little bit better with our staff. I will certainly be proposing that as either an amendment or proviso language, Mr. Chairman. But the main thing, I just thought I would mention it today, put on everyone's radar screen. And I guess I've said enough about that topic. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. While we're doing that on Thursday, could they tell us exactly how many square feet they're leasing, and also what the equivalent dollar per square foot we are to our agencies that are leasing this facility? So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. You probably wouldn't have that, would you, Stephen? That's something we could find for him, maybe for Thursday?
I believe the Department of Administration has sent in, let me see, they have it information by building. I don't know if they have it specifically by entity. I would need to defer to the department for that.
Okay, we can check on that. Excuse me. Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back on that 10.3, that's debt service. What's the principal amount on those three that's going to come in? What's the size of that debt we're going to do?
Senator Fagg, it's about 110, 120. Correct.
Senator Petty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if we are on Thursday going to be talking about press in the Capitol, I would appreciate that we also have information as to how long space has been provided for the press within the Capitol as well.
Can you do that also, Stephen, please? Okay. Other questions? Seeing none, if someone would like to make a motion to approve this budget for 25, 26? Yeah, well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that we pass out for 25, 26, the Department of Administration budget as presented.
We have a motion, we have a second. Senator Alley seconds. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to the Department of Corrections. What page is that?
Volume 2, page 435.
435.
And the shorthand begins on page 22.
Would you mind going over the green sheet, please?
Yep, so the Department of Corrections starts on page 22 on your green sheet. For fiscal year 25, item 1, we have a reappropriation lapse. The House added 28.2 million SGF to partially restore reappropriations of the evidence-based juvenile program. That leaves a reappropriation lapse of 10 million. Item 2, the House added 10 million SGF to restore the reappropriations for the Lansing Correctional Facility Career Campus. Item 3, the House added 5.4 million SGF to fully fund the medical contract. Moving on to fiscal year 26, item 1, the House added 8.3 million SGF to fully fund the medical contract. Item 2, the House added 4 million SGF to fund deferred rehab and repair projects. Turning to page 23, item 3, the House added 1.7 million SGF to fully fund the food service contract. Item 4, the House added language directing the agency to appropriate 1 million SGF using existing evidence-based juvenile program funds to the O'Connell Children's Shelter. Item 5, the House added language to transfer an additional 2 million SGF from the evidence-based juvenile program to the Jobs for America's Graduate Kansas, bringing that total transfer to 5.5 million. And item 6, the House deleted 100,000, all from the Correctional Institution Building Fund to reduce that to available funds.
Thank you, Nicole. Any questions for Nicole while she's up? See, oh, Senator Petty.
Nicole, when it comes to the evidence-based fund, let's see, the evidence-based program fund. So after 2026, what will be left in that fund?
I believe,
According to the current,
I'm trying to, okay. I believe the agency provided that in their testimony. Let me find it.
oh, I think you're right on slide 10. By 2027, we eliminated all the grant programs in the community.
There, I believe, was also, they provided two attachments, attachment A and attachment B, impact of the evidence-based program funds, that provide more information on that. The total,
So that would mean that no funds that have been now through the evidence-based, those evidence-based programs that are being funded within communities would no longer, there would no be funding stream going to those. Would that be correct?
the agency has stated there was a possibility of having to stop some of those grants.
I think they provide us, you're right on page 11, functioning family therapy, juvenile defense system, sex offender risk assessments, stepping up initiatives, behavioral health services for juvenile detention facilities, and grants to community would all be eliminated by 2027 because of the funds not being, being taken from the evidence-based funding. Thank you.
Any other questions for Nicole? Seeing none, thank you, Nicole. Senator Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a couple of amendments, and the first one is very straightforward. If you're ready for amendments now?
Yes.
Okay. First, as you guys have mentioned, as I mentioned before, you guys hear me talking about my prior life as the Chair of Corrections Juvenile Justice. I actually sat on the Juvenile Justice Oversight Committee as well that manages this evidence-based fund. This evidence-based fund has most certainly had a storied past of not being appropriated the way that it should, and therefore has been built up over time. And each year, there is an attempt by some organization or some entity to sweep some of these funds. So my first motion as it relates to the JJOC fund is to return the $10 million that was lapsed in 2025 back to the JJOC Evidence-Based Program Fund. And I'll go ahead and move that, and then we can continue on.
We have a motion. We have a second. Second by Senator Petty. Discussion. Senator Petty.
I also had the opportunity to serve on the Juvenile Justice Oversight Committee, and I would concur with the senator that the lapse of these funds does delete these programs.
Any other questions or discussion? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Trying to make certain I'm on the right page here. This would mirror the House position, is that correct?
No.
It would not. No. So the green sheet says add 10 million to restore the reappropriation for funds to Lansing, but this is a different program than that. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
Senator Owens.
Yes, so this has nothing to do with Lansing. This is the Evidence-Based Programming Fund under the Kansas Department of Corrections. And they did not restore, they actually lapsed that $10 million back into SGF. And I am arguing that it needs to be returned for a whole host of reasons.
Senator Peck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So is, in the opinion of Senator Owens, 10 million the right dollar amount, Mr. Chairman?
Senator Owens.
It is, because that's what is lapsed. That is what the House lapsed. So the House's position is to lapse 10 million out of the fund. My position is to keep that $10 million in the fund. As a brief overview, SB 367 passed about 9 years ago. SB 367 was a significant juvenile justice reform in the state. As a result of closing multiple juvenile detention facilities, those savings are put into this fund. This fund then provides juvenile justice programming funds down to local levels for local use of evidence-based programming for our juveniles instead of incarcerating them. Similar to what would have happened back in the 80s and 90s with the closure of the mental health clinic here in Topeka, where the intent was money to flow down to the local level when that closed. That unfortunately didn't quite happen. I advocate year after year to continue to make sure these funds stay where they need to be to ensure that those funds flow down to the local level for our juveniles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Senator Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We heard from the Kansas Department of Corrections quite extensively over what they have been through since COVID. We have seen significant challenges in their employment, down as far as almost 500 employees during COVID, which caused us to go into the contract prison business of paying, if I remember correctly, we allocated $40 million to pay a contract prison in Arizona to house a number of our inmates. That was as a direct result of a lack of employees and not a lack of space, but a lack of employees to monitor those beds. I think that we have worked extensively since then to put ourselves in a position to our staffing is in a much better place with KDOC. And I am concerned that if we allow the existing lapses along with the 1.5% across the board reduction to KDOC to continue, that is going to remove, and we heard this, that is going to remove their ability to keep funding these positions at the level that we have grown them to and maintain our staffing. And the last thing I want to do is see us put back into or find ourselves in a contract prison position like we find ourselves in a contract nursing position that we can't get ourselves out of. And so my motion, Mr. Chairman, is to return the lapsed $4,084,496 for 2025, return the lapsed $906,795 for 2026, and eliminate the 1.5% across the board reduction for KDOC. And I will move that motion.
Senator, the 1.5% cuts, we're going to handle that at a separate time. I think we'll wait probably on Thursday. So if you want to do the lapse, we're okay.
I will amend
But the 1.5, we're going to have to look at that pretty much quite a few different areas. So
very good. Then I will remove that portion and restate to my motion is to return the lapsed $4,084,496 for 25 and the lapsed $906,795 for 2026.
I have a motion. We have a second. Senator Fagg seconds. Discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anyone else have anything? Senator Alley.
Question, Mr. Chair. With the money that we moved with the evidence-based juvenile program, does item 4 on page 23, is that still in the budget? $1 million for The O'Connell Children's Shelter.
Did not change that at all, so yes, that's still in there. Other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Oh, we already voted on it. Excuse me, you asked a question after. Okay, we're done with that one. Let's go to the Kansas Sentencing Commission. And what page are you?
That will be volume 2, page 463.
Nicole, do you mind giving an update again, please?
Good morning. There is only one item on page 25, is in fiscal year 26, and it is to add 1.1 million SGF for the Senate Bill 123 provider rate increases.
Okay, and how about 26? You want to do that while you're up, and then we'll see if there's any questions?
That is the one item.
That's the one item. Was it only 26? Okay, or 25? Did you say it was another than 25? Okay. Any questions of Nicole while she's up? Seeing none, thank you, Nicole. Does anyone have any other questions? Senator Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're just running through a number of the things that I want to discuss. So the Kansas Sentencing Commission handles what is the primary treatment options that our state has. By allowing individuals that are in the criminal justice system to be treated, the goal here is to help them turn their lives around. Over the last 4 years, we have expanded Senate Bill 123 to not only allow it to be used for treatment for low-level offenders, for those with felon in possessions, but we have expanded it as a body to include those charged with low-level distribution, as well as those charged with property crimes that are a direct result of an addiction. What happened when we lapsed this $2.4 million, or when it was lapsed by the LBC, is we removed the funding for the Senate Bill 123 treatment programs in many instances. Having conferred with the Kansas Sentencing Commission, they had a number of enhancements requested for 2026. What they have informed me is if we simply return the lapsed 1.3 million, and for clarity, originally it was 2.4 that was lapsed. The House added back 1.1. My motion is to return the 1.3, and that will eliminate their 2026 enhancement requests. Those enhancement requests only came because we lapsed what was already sitting there in their account for treatment. And so, Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion that we also return the lapsed 1.3 million for the Kansas Sentencing Commission.
Motion, we have a second. Senator Fagg seconds. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Do you have anything else, Senator Owens? That's it, okay. Anyone else have anything else? Someone like to make a motion?
Chairman, I don't think we need to make. Is that right, Tyler?
Just accept it, we don't? Okay. Okay, we're moving on if there's nothing else. Okay. Next, we'll do the Kansas Department of Transportation. You have a page number?
That is volume 2, page 61.
On the green sheet, that is page 30.
Thanks, Kyle.
Page 30.
It's page 61 in the volumes.
61 in volume 2 and page 30 on the green sheet. Go ahead, Kyle.
So in fiscal year 2025, you should see 3 items listed. The first item is construction inspection salaries and wages. This was a removal by the LBC due to the global removal of all additional FTE-related positions. The House Committee in current position in HB 2007 is to add this funding back in. Item number 2 is regular maintenance salaries and wages. This was a $4.1 million item, also affected by that global motion. And the current House position in HB 2007 is to add that $4.1 million back in. And the final item for fiscal year 2025 is to add back the position changes in the base FTE request for fiscal year 2025, which ultimately brings the in fiscal year 2025 request back to the agency's position for all intents and purposes. Any questions on fiscal year 2025?
Questions for Kyle on 25, Senator Fagg?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you explain how we do 14.75 on FTEs? I had that asked of me earlier today.
Mr. Chairman, so the .75 is a non-full-time position. In some cases for the agency, this is like an intern position or a researcher position that is not working full-time. I'm not exactly sure what this specific .75 off the top of my head equates to, but I can check back and get back to you if you'd like more detail.
Thank you.
Other questions on 25? Seeing none. Kyle, if you'd like to do 26, please.
Moving to fiscal year 2026, as with fiscal year 2025, this is just going to restore a number of items that were removed from the global FTE change in the LBC. The first of those is the design right-of-way program, and this was a $1 million item. The second is the administration salaries and wages change of $1.3 million. Item number 3 is construction inspection program again for $1.7 million. The item number 4 is Office of the Secretary. This was a $22,020 item. Item number 5 is regular maintenance, salaries and wages for $3.9 million. And item number 6 is the recorrection of the FTE positions associated with all the changes for the year. Any questions for fiscal year 2026?
Questions on 26? Seeing none, thank you, Kyle. Did anyone have any changes or additions? Seeing none? I guess we'll accept the changes that was made in the House, so. Lost my sheet, just a second. Okay. That's all we had for today. So, committee, tomorrow we'll be working KDADS and KDHE Health, and we'll see how much time we have left, like I said, and then we'll get into some report outs and work over lunch hour tomorrow. So plan on that. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.